Hey Beer Tubers, it's Ryan back with another episode of San Diego Beer Vlog. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a collaboration beer. This is the first in the Bruery's collaboration series with other brewers. And this is a collaboration that they did with Cigar City Brewing in Tampa, Florida. And this is Marron Acidifie. This is their Imperial Flanders or Flemish Brown Ale. Or that's the style they're going for. This has been aging in some barrels for a year now, because they got together at the GABF in 2009, and not too long after brewed up the batch and then put it in the barrels for a year. And this is an 8.5% brown ale. That's why it's Imperial, because normal Flemish or Flanders browns are much lower in ABV. They're usually around 5 or 6%. So I got this one up at the provision store up there in Orange, and I got to try this beer as well while I was there. They recommend serving in a wine glass, so that's why it's going with the big red wine glass. Appearance, didn't pour much of a head, just a little bit of lacing. See if I can swirl it up, because it looks like there's a good amount of carbonation in there. This is probably a bad pour on my part. Can't see through it at all. It's not very transparent, pretty much opaque. It kind of goes lighter brown into some red notes when you hold it up into the light. So let's get the nose on it. Immediately get the acidic character of it. That's which kind of goes along like a vinegar, like a balsamic vinegar going into almost like a berry vinegar. I know there's not really berry vinegar, but you get some berry character, like a raspberry kind of notes to it, blackberry, some oak in there. Mostly that kind of vinegar note. Maybe a touch of apple as well, that apple cider vinegar that you get a lot of these sour beers. There's also some sweet fruit notes in there, like a lighter, maybe it's kind of going tropical fruits, but not really. Maybe a little more like melon, the melon, kind of what they call stone fruits, that kind of aroma, to kind of go with that kind of red berry character, you know, like raspberry, kind of cranberry, somewhere in that range, kind of get that around the aroma. So it smells pretty good, pretty complex for Flanders style red ale, or brown ale in this case. So I'm gonna dig in. Cheers. Yeah, that's really nice. It's so smooth. There's tartness in there, but it's not that big mouth puckering tartness, which my experience with this style of beer is that it's not supposed to be overtly tart like a lot of the American wild ales can be, or like a goose, or something like, you know, single batch, single year lambics that haven't been blended. Those beers can be very tart. This one just has a nice tartness in there, but there's a whole lot more going on in the beer. So you get more of a malt character in this beer. You get some caramel notes. The bottle describes leather. Yeah, I'm definitely getting a little bit of like a leather character in there with the caramel malt. You get some oak from the barrels. And then you do get that acidic kind of kick that kind of carries throughout the palate as kind of all these other flavors come into play. You get a slight sweet note kind of up front, some of that kind of like cranberry, raspberry character, some sweeter fruit notes as well, kind of are up there, and then that kind of vinegar-like sour kind of comes in midway and then kind of finishes with the malt. There's also that red wine vinous character in there, because some of those red wines can have a good acidic kind of character to them, and that's kind of what this beer has. except it just has more tartness than you'd get with a red wine. And also with certain red wines, you get a lot of that tannin character that the wine kind of seeps out of the oak they're using. I don't know what kind of oak. They're usually typically you see American oak, Hungarian oak, and French oaks used. They just say oak barrels, so maybe they blended between the three types. Maybe there's one, not entirely sure, but definitely start getting some of those tannins in there. At the end, the very end, you almost get a slight chocolate note, and that's kind of what the roasted malts they're using. Kind of, it doesn't go quite coffee. I just get, it's like right on the verge of just being sort of chocolatey at the end with the caramel malt backbone. So, wow, this is one very complex Flemish style brown ale. One of the most complex versions I've had. And not only is it 8.5%, you cannot taste that alcohol whatsoever. It's highly drinkable if you like this style. I mean, if you're new to the style, might take a little bit of getting used to that sort of sour vinegar character that's in there. But there's so much other flavors going on with this beer that I have to say this is one of the best collaboration beers I've ever had. So I'm going to go with an A+. It's just an excellent example of the style, but you know, with their own American twist, and the two breweries have been doing some pretty interesting things with barrels. Cigar City's doing using cedar in their beers, exploring different fruits. You know, both breweries are using different ingredients, and this one they didn't go too crazy with the ingredients. They just did a really excellent imperial version of the style, and it works. It's highly drinkable. So, cheers to that. As far as availability goes on this beer, if you can get either beers from the Bruery or Cigar City, you should be able to get this one. It might be slow getting into distribution, but it is supposed to see a fairly wide yet limited release. So definitely check out Marron Acidifie if you can get the beers. They say it's good up to 5 years of aging on it. I bought enough bottles that hopefully I can keep one at least a few years and see how this turns out down the road. But right now, wow, it's an excellent version of one of the best, and it's unique enough that it stands on its own. So it's going to wrap it up. Until next time, please comment, subscribe. Cheers.